Well, I don't have a webcam, so here's a picture of me, so you know what I look like. Um, Actually, that's a picture I took that had taken of me when I was in Bonaire one year in the downtown area, which is called Kralendijk. And for those of you that don't know me, I live in Ellerslie, Georgia, which is just north of Columbus, Georgia. And got a little picture of my station. I have a very small station, just a K3, ACOM 1000. And I don't have a tower, just a bunch of wires in the trees. We have a lot of tall pine trees here in Georgia, so I have a lot of nice antenna supports. Unfortunately, I live in an HOA, so I don't know if it's smart to try and put up a tower. Even though our HOA is a little dysfunctional, I don't know if they'd give me a hard time if they saw a big tower back in my woods. Okay, let's go on to Bonaire. Okay. Okay, here's a little background of the operations that I've done from Bonaire. I started out in 2004. Actually, I was part of the Caribbean Contest Consortium, the PJ4R operation. I was one of the charter members of that group. A lot of the people in that were from Ohio, and so I was in that in the beginning. But I kind of moved on from that after a few years, so I ended up going to Bonaire. I was looking for a place to operate, and I posted something on the contest selector, trying to see if I could find someone to join, and joined an operation. And Noah, K2NG, sent me an email and asked me if I wanted to do ARRL phone with them. And I didn't really want to do a phone contest, so I said, well, can I rent your station and do the ARRL code? And he's like, sure. So ever since 2004, with the exception of a couple years, I've been going to Bonaire. We started out doing the ARRL DX CW Contest, and then later on we switched over to CQWW every year. So anyway, when the first time I went to Bonaire, there were no resting hams on the island at all. I think about the second year, we found out there was an American guy, his call was PJ4A that was on the island. He wasn't really a contester or anything like that. He was just some guy from New York, and the only reason we knew that he was there because he showed up at the house one day with his girlfriend. So, but since then there's quite a few more hams there, probably about 6 or 7, I think, right now. A lot of them have just moved from Holland to Bonaire. You can probably think of Bonaire like being Hawaii for people in the Netherlands, because there's a lot of Dutch people that go to Bonaire. It's like us Americans maybe that might want to go to Hawaii. So anyway, we used the PJ4R call sign from 2004 to 2006, the ARRL code. My first couple trips that we did that, Mike W9RE and Mark N50T went with me, and then the second time we did it, N4GG Hal joined us, and we did pretty good in that. I think the last year we went there when we did multi-2, we ended up actually winning that multi-2 category. So in 2007 was the first year that we did the CQWW DX CW Contest, and so actually that first year I didn't operate K4BAI and K1TO, and another guy operate that contest, and then from 2008 to present, I've been going there every year. Can you still hear me? I heard a beep.
Yes,
We hear
we still
you.
hear you.
Okay, I just want to make sure every once in a while I'm not talking to myself. Okay. Also, K4BAI has done, there's been several trips that he's just gone on by himself, and he's done single ops down there. In 2015, I actually went for a phone contest of all things in WPX phone. And unfortunately, this year ended our streak of CQWW DX CW trips because of the COVID. Although both John and I were able to operate through the remote station down there. John did, if you were on the contest this past weekend, John was on as PJ4A, 15-meter single band. And then when he wasn't on the air, I actually just got on the air on Saturday night on just 40 meters running low power. And I was amazed how well I did. I think I operated about 10 hours and made about 1,100 contacts. So that was a lot of fun. I figured out that we've had 23 different contest operators that have just joined K4BA and I and myself on our Bonaire trips. And if you add in like some of the other contests that John has done without me being there, it's probably even higher than that. So there's been quite a few people, probably well-known people that you've heard of before that have operated with us. Okay, so here's a little map of Bonaire, and if you see up here, PJ4G, that's where the station's located. It's a hilltop called Subi Rincon, which is right above the town of Rincon here. And it's one of the higher points on the whole island, so it's a pretty good radio location. Okay, a little bit about the station. It's owned by NOAA K2NG. He's actually got a PJ4 call, PJ4NG, but for years and years he just used PJ4G, and I'm not sure if they're going to be using it anymore. I know the last couple contests we've done with him, he's actually just used our PJ4A call. The house is located on one of the highest hills on Bonaire. We've got a 360-degree ocean view. If you climb up the 90-foot tower, it's pretty amazing. So that's why when you hear PJ4G or PJ4A on there, that's why we're so loud. And the PJ4 Radio Club, which right now has just got 3 members, K2NG and A2AA, and K4BAI are the 3 members right now, but they're always looking for more members, and they have a similar setup to what PJ4T or PJ2T has, where someone owns a house, which is K2NG. In the case of PJ2T, it's W0CG. And then the members share the cost of maintaining the station. And basically what the membership gives you is you get your first right of refusal for contests. So say that you want to do the CQWW phone every year, and no one else in this club wants it. You know, it's yours to do. If someone outside the club wants to do it, you override them. So that's what the membership gives you. And then since the beginning of this year, the station can be operated remotely via the BLAO US, which is a new company. They're not really totally live yet, but they'll be similar to remote ham radio. And I think right now they got about 5 or 6 stations in different spots. Okay, so this is kind of actually an old picture, but because it's only got one. This is back when we just had a C31XR on the 60-foot tower, but it gives you kind of an idea of how high we are, you know, in Bonaire. This view is kind of probably looking toward Europe right now. Okay, so I'm going to go through some pictures here. These are some of the early operations that took place since I've been going there, and kind of keep these pictures in mind when I get to what the station is currently looks like, because it's quite a bit different. this right here is pretty minimal when we started out. Basically, all the amplifiers and most of the equipment, except for the radios in your computer, they're stored down there. So when we go on a trip, we only have to just haul if you want a radio, your own radio, you can bring that down. If not, they have some FT1000 MPs. Although we always suggest that people just bring their radio because electronics don't always work very well in the saltwater environment down there. When you get down there, you don't want to maybe get down there and find out a radio doesn't work. So this is taken during 2005 ARRL DX CW N4GG PAL right here, and Mark N50T and W9RE are operating. And we just have a bunch of different pictures here. I'll just go through these quickly. It's W9RE. Okay, and back then for the antenna switching, I mean, basically all we really had was a 6-pack. So we'd plug all the antennas from the coaxes from each of the towers or antennas into this. So it was pretty simple back then. Actually, the first year that we went there, about 2 months before our trip, they had a fire at the power plant for the island. So they were doing rolling back blackouts and stuff, and probably not very good for someone that wanted to do a contest. And actually, we had thought about canceling, but Noah went ahead and he bought a generator, and then he had an electrician come out, and the cable here from the generator plugs into this thing right here, and there's a switchover box on the inside the house to switch over from the regular power over to the generator. So that's kind of nice to have. We've actually used it a couple times. We've had the power go out. There was one of our operations probably, I don't know, maybe about 5 years ago, where they had some really bad storms down there, and the power was like out half the day for Sunday of the contest, and having the generator saved us. Okay, fast forward to, we'll go a little further, 2009, about 5 years after that. And as you can see, it's still, yeah, not much of anything really. I mean, it's pretty minimal, not much different than when we did in 2005. Actually, this contest, it was myself, K4BAI, and W4OC, and we actually won multi-single for the whole world. So that was a pretty successful trip for us. Okay, so we'll fast forward to the current station. This is a little before, that's NE9U operating a little bit. This is before the contest. Not everything is totally set up yet, but you can see it's a little more equipment than we had back in 2005 or even 10 years ago. I mean, it's a lot more stuff now. And this right here, this rack here is all the remote switch. So when we go down there, we have to switch over from, we have to unplug everything from this and just plug in the regular stuff. Okay, so run down to the equipment. There's some FT1000 MPs at the shack. A lot of people bring their K3s, use those. We have 4 AL1200 amplifiers down there, AL91B. There's another amplifier, but I don't remember what the model is of it. It's an older amp. And then we use the Dunestar 600s. We have a homebrew antenna switching. It's a 3x11 switch, so you can share 11 antennas between 3 stations. And then we also have a 4x8 receive switch, which you can share 8 receive antennas between 4 stations. And then there's also a triplexer down there. It's homebrew N4R built it. And usually that's hooked up to one of the tri-banders, and so that antenna can actually be shared. Like say you're operating 20 meters, you could use the same antenna on 15 meters too. So it works out pretty good. And then for the remote operation, there's an EA4TX remote box that gets used to switch the 80 meter antenna. There's a like something similar to like a K8UR array down there on the tower. We used to use that for the for all the other antennas too, but recently they bought an OM power antenna switch. So right now on the other bands, except for 80 meters, it's just switching based on what band the radio is on. And then for the remote station, there's an OM 2000A amplifier that's only used for the remote. We don't use that when we're there in person. Okay, here's the 3x11 switch I was talking about. This is built by N4RR, and so this is the switch up here. Down here is the actual triplexer. Can you still hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So at every station, each of the stations, there's just a manual switch here to switch between the different antennas. So the 10 and 15 and 20 positions are usually go through the triplexer. So say on station A, I'm on 10 meters, you know, I can switch to, on station B, I can use 15 meters, but whoever is chosen, like say 10 meters on station A, the station B can't pick the 10 meter position. And then we have all the other antenna choices here. Okay, and then we have this, this is part of the switching for the antenna switching. Kind of gives you a visual look of who's got what. So right here, the station A is using the 40 meter beam, the 15 is using the C31. This is an older picture, and station C is using the C3E. Okay. See. Oops, wait a minute. Okay. So here's the 4x8 receive antenna switch, and this was custom built by K9AY for us. So the way this works is each operating position will have one of these little switches at it, and this is the actual control box that controls everything. And so all the receive antennas can actually be shared between all the stations, and you can use the same receive antenna at the same time. So that works out pretty well for us. Okay, and then sometimes we've done we've done multi-2 before, and we'll have two radios on each band. So say we might be running on 20 and 40 at the same time, and we'll have two radios on that band, and this ACOM 2S1 allows you to share the AL 1200 between those two stations. And so if someone is transmitting, say on 40, the run station is transmitting, it locks out the guy on the same band that's maybe tuning around for stations or multipliers to work on that particular band. So here's a good picture of like kind of what everything kind of looks like from the back after we're ready for a contest. The station is totally dismantled every contest, so this is not permanently set up. So usually it's a 2 or 3 day process to get all the computers networked, all the equipment hooked up and everything. So it's quite a bit of work, but usually when we take it down, it goes pretty quickly. And these cabinets here is where all the equipment is stored in, and it has locks on it and everything, so people can't get into that. Okay, there's just another picture of current setup. We've got Yaesu rotors on the towers. There's some plugs on the back of this that that switch between the remote and the and when we're in person. So when we come in person, we have to switch those plugs to be able to use the rotor boxes. Okay. Okay, this is actually NOAA operating, the owner of the station K2NG, and here's kind of a good example of the setup with two radios on a band. So like he's running on a band here, and then we got another radio here and another radio, I guess you can't see it, that's over here, that are on a band. So this is just a kind of a picture. Well, here's a better picture actually. Here's two guys right here, Noah and another guy on one band, and then John K4BAI, and then this would be the other radio that would be with this one here. Okay, let's look at the antennas. These towers are not all of ours. It'd be nice if they were, but they aren't. But you can see the stations like this house kind of right here. Here's a 60-foot tower, the 90-foot tower, and a cell tower that has a 160-meter inverted V at the top. And then our receive antennas are down in this area. An interesting thing about this cell tower is NOAA found out that the guy wire for their tower was on his property. And he was trying to figure out, if he was going to, charge him rent or something like that, because their guy wire is on his property. So he worked out a deal where we could put our 160 antenna on the top of the tower. So I don't know, this is probably at least a 230-foot tower. So there's a inverted V for 160 on that tower, which is a killer antenna. Okay, here's the smaller tower. This is by the house. It's got a Momo beam Tri-15, 6-meter Yagi, and there's a little 40-meter wire vertical hanging off that as well. And here's the big tower in the back, the 90-footer, a Momo beam Tri-7, and a 2M40, a C31XR down here, which is fixed toward the US. And then there's you can kind of see the coax here, but there's a sloping kind of dipole array, but it's actually one of the K8UR arrays where it slopes down and then it slopes back in towards the tower. And then there's also a 160-meter inverted L on this tower as well with 4 elevated radials. So we actually have 2 antennas on 160. So here's a picture towards Europe. As you can see, it's a nice ocean view. And to the south, more ocean. And to the US, same. So this is a very good location. Okay, the receive antennas. So down this road here, we run beverage for the US. And none of these antennas are permanently installed. We have to install them every trip. We put a beverage down in this field, and this is a remote receive antenna. It's a tri-bander fixed toward Europe. And so there's actually coax running all the way down here, all the way down to this tower. And this is a farmer owns this land, and NOAA rents it from him to be able to put the tri-bander on. And it actually works pretty well when you're either if you're doing a multi-single or multi-tube, because it's far enough away from the transmit antenna that you can actually don't have really much interference at all. Okay, and here's a closer in picture of the little tri-bander is just fixed toward Europe. So you select this through that 4x8 receive antenna switch I mentioned earlier. So you can switch between the transmit antenna and this to listen to Europe. And then here's the field here that we run our beverage basically toward Europe here. And like I said, we normally have to set this up and take it down each time we go down there. It's kind of nice now because the farmer has kind of cleaned out his field here, it used to be all this brush here, and we had to run our antenna all through this brush, which was a real pain. Okay, you still hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay. So there's another set of receive antennas. This is on the hilltop, and again, these are not set up. This is not set up permanently like the European one is, because the land that it's located is not land that NOAA owns. It's part of I think it's part of a national park or something, and they don't want him to have his antenna up permanently because I guess they're afraid that birds or something will run into it. So usually on the CQOI trips that I go on, we don't install this, but when NOAA goes down for a contest, they normally install all this. So I think there was one trip that we made that we had a bunch of operators that we actually put this on this one up. And so this has a tri-bander, and it's got a Waller flag antenna on it as well, which is a really good antenna. There's also an SAL loop. It's in the same area as that antenna I just showed you. And again, this is not up permanently. It's just normally put up and taken down if people want to use it. But if you just got a couple people or 3 people, it's kind of hard to put this up. You kind of need to have more people to install this stuff because it's pretty labor intensive to put all that up. Okay, well that's the contest station. Okay, so I wanted to talk about some other things other than contesting. As most people might know, us all being DXers, Bonaire became a new country on 10/10/2010, and there was an organized effort by a bunch of people to put Bonaire on the air. I think there were about 6 different stations. So this was one of them. This is the Radio Netherlands relay station, shortwave broadcast station, and it's since been taken down and everything. It's no longer there. But before they took everything down, they allowed them to do their 10/10/2010 operation. I think they might use PJ4W as the call at this station, because I think there were about 6 different operations around the island that couple week or so period where they did that. And I think Mike said you're going to save this on YouTube, so you can click on these links here, and there's some stories about that operation if you're more interested in finding out a little bit more about that. This is kind of something interesting at the shortwave broadcast station. Notice the watt of the VSWR meter goes up to 300 kW, which is pretty interesting. Okay, so I'll go on and talk about some of the people that, the local hams that live on the island. This is probably the most active guy in Bonaire right now. This is Steve, PJ4DX. And this house is actually owned by PJ4NX. Steve is renting it from him, but there's some other another cottage that's right next door to it. And so when this house is rented out, there's actually a lot of operations from here. In fact, the PJ4, the German guys that are down there right now, well, they have been. I don't know if they've gone back to Germany, but they've been operating from this house. And for someone that would want to go down and operate and rent a house with the station and everything set up, this would be great for if you wanted to take your wife, because the PJ4G station is more of a man cave. It's away from all the tourist areas, and your wife would probably not like it at all. And the nice thing about this, it has a pool too, so that's a plus. Okay, this is Peter, PJ4NX, his station. And he's been down there for a while, maybe since about the mid to late 2000s. He used to be PA3 CNX, and him and his wife moved down to Bonaire. And if you like to do 6 meters, or if you like to do moon bounce, you might have worked him there. Oh, there's one thing I forgot to mention. If you don't know, Steve, PJ4DX, used to be 9M6 DXX. So that might be a familiar call to some of the DXers out there. But he actually moved there to Bonaire. I guess he was just looking for somewhere else to go to, him and his wife. Okay, this is a fairly new station. Well, it's actually an old station, but a new station. Back in the late 80s, there was a big multi station down on Bonaire, which was Papa Japan 1 Bravo. And they actually won the multi several times. A lot of famous contesters operated there. What's interesting about this station is that it was dormant until like maybe a few years ago, and the owner of it is WA3LRO, and him and N6KT decided that they wanted to rebuild that station. So that's what they're in process of doing right now. And the interesting thing about this station is it's off the power grid. There are no power lines anywhere around here. It's on the northwest part of the island. So it's run totally on generators. And as you can see, it's right on the water, right at the northwest tip of Bonaire. And then here's another local, PJ4KY. He's on a lot. He's more of a phone operator, and you'll find him on the air a lot. He's got a big step IR antenna, and his wife actually owns what's called the Mangrove Center. It's a pretty popular tourist spot where you take kayaks and stuff through the mangroves of Bonaire. So it's pretty interesting thing to do. So if you would ever go down there, with your family or wife, that might be a good place to go to. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the remote station. So this remote station is a partnership between the BLoud.us, which is owned by WW4LL and W9SN. Here's the rack with all the equipment. It's got Flex 6500. It's got the EA4TX boxes for the antennas. I think there's another box, an EA4TX box that does the rotators, and then there's the OM amplifiers down here. Now this is not their final setup. This is just to get on the air, test the station. Most of the people that have remoted so far are people that have actually been going to the station for years. But there are a couple guys that are not part of that group that have done it. But this will be changed a little bit around. They're going to be getting rid of the flex radios. They're going to put in ICOM 7300, and I think they're going to take out these EA4TX boxes. They're not really happy with those, and I think the amplifier is probably going to stay the same. Okay, so here's a close-up kind of the rack, Flex 6500, the OM boxes, and then on the back of the rack, what we do is normally when we get there to the station, all the antennas are plugged into this on the back of the rack. So we have to take the coaxes for all these and plug them into that 3x11 antenna switch to use those antennas locally. Okay, here's John, K4BAI, operating a contest from my house. He's kind of more comfortable doing it from my house. He's not really a technical guy at all, and it could be a little complicated to use the software and everything if you're not know a lot about computers or everything. So I'm usually he usually comes and goes in the other side of my operating room and operates the contest. And you notice he has one of the flex knobs here too, which is really nice with the flex radio, so he doesn't have to use the mouse. That was a good investment for him. And just some shots of some of the screens that we have up when we're operating remotely, and just all the connection stuff. This is the EA4 remote box software interface, and you just basically click on the antenna that you want. This particular one, they have the 8x2 antenna switch. So basically, this up here is the one side, and this is the other side. And I don't even think right now, I don't even think this side is even hooked up at all. And then up here, we usually have to have another instance of that program to switch the 80-meter array. Okay, and some more EA4TX software, ARRL VCOM. This is how we rotate the rotors on both of the towers. So you basically just kind of click where you want it to go, and the rotor will go there. And here's a screenshot of the OM2000A, the software we use for to control the OM2000A remotely. Okay, so if you want to find out a little bit more about the remote station, here's a couple links here. Even though this isn't totally live yet, if you really wanted to do a contest, they would probably let you do it. I know there's been a couple guys, NN3W did the WAE, both phone and CW this year. And W2GD did part of the All Asia contest. I guess he was trying to qualify for WRTC, so he did that. Okay, some of our contesting successes and some pretty good ones. I mean, usually just about every operation we do pretty well. We've won a lot of plaques, set a couple world records. So one in 2006, that was multi-single is PJ4A. That was the one that I did not go on. That was the one with K4BAI and K1TO and another guy. That was a record that was set at the bottom of the sun cycle, which I think is pretty amazing. And then also back in 2011, RD3A rented the station, and he set the world record in ARRL DX CW, but I think that's since been broken, or it's been broken since then. Okay, so I think that's it right there. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, or should I just stop the share?
You can stop the share, and we'll see if anybody has questions for you. What's the you talked about? Sounds like a Foursquare on 80 meters. What exactly is your 80-meter antenna?
Okay, it's a let's see, what am I doing here? Okay, I'll just leave it there. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, if you look at the antenna book, it's kind of like think of it as a sloper. So the antenna slopes off. There's 4 directions. The antenna slopes off the tower, northwest, northeast, southeast, and southwest. But instead of the bottom leg of the dipole going straight to the ground, it goes in toward the tower, kind of like a diamond. And I think if you look at the ARRL antenna handbook, it's called a K8UR array.
Okay, interesting. Oh, and it works very well for you?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not. I wouldn't say it's super directional, but it works. It works. I mean, you know, you could still, when you're switched to Europe, you can still run the US on it. But I do notice, like when we've run JAs before, when you switch to the northwest leg of it, it really works pretty good toward the northwest in the US. Anything else?
Couple of questions, Lee.
Go ahead, Fred.
Hi, Jeff. I think I may have met you with the judge in Curacao last year after
Yeah, you did.
CQ Worldwide CW NA2U here. Comment, a couple questions. The 2005 CQ Worldwide photo that you showed, I'm thinking, geez, that looks like N50T.
It is.
Yeah, before I saw the caption, I've known Mark since 2014 at PJ2T.
Yeah. Actually, I think is he the president of the CCC now?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I thought he was. Yeah.
Couple questions about your setup there. For your remote, do you use remote rig boxes?
No, it's it's going the smart SDR software for the Flex radius.
For the Flex. Okay.
Yeah. It's going through that. Now,
okay.
I think when they switch over to the ICOM, that they're going to have some of those little Pi computers or whatever they call them that are going to be controlling stuff down there. Yeah.
Okay. And do you need a control up there to be able to operate remote, or
no?
Everything.
No, you don't. That's why it's different than Curacao, because even though they have a remote at Curacao, they can't operate it from the U.S. because there's not a control operator there.
That's correct.
But in Bonaire, we're allowed to do it. They changed the rules for us.
Oh, groovy.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you probably know that the same licensing or the people that take care of the licensing is different now than what it was in the past. Because before when you wanted to get a contest call, say for Bonaire, you had to go through the licensing place in Curacao, but you don't do that anymore. They have their own in Bonaire now.
Yeah, with independence.
Yeah.
Great. And while I got you, I wanted to thank you for the Q and Worldwide. I was at Kilo Hotel 7 Mike Worth, both you and the judge and the German.
Oh, okay. What, did you work me in 40 meters when I was on?
I don't remember what band it was, but I know we had one Q.
Okay. Yeah, because I did not get on until Saturday night on 40 meters after John was done with 15 meters. I was thinking about getting on Friday night, but we had been having a few little technical problems, and I thought it'd be better if I just skipped it and let John operate during the day, and if everything was working okay, then I would get on. So that's why I only got on Saturday night. But I was pretty amazed that I did so well just running 100 watts. But in retrospect, that might have been a good idea because, when I got spotted on packet, the pileup was just outrageous. I mean, there were just, the European big gun stations were just kept calling over and over again, even though I came back to somebody. And a lot of people were like zero beated on my frequency because they were probably clicking on packet spots. And for those of you, if you've never had a big pileup on you, like say operating from the Caribbean, when everyone is zero beat, you can't copy anybody because it just sounds like a tone. I mean, you just can't copy anyone at all. It just really, it slows down your rate.
somebody spotting me on 10 meters said it sounded like bees.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And that's exactly what it sounded like. Jeff, thanks a lot. Great presentation.
Thank you.